Recording in progress.
Okay, please rise if you're able. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
and States of America,
and to the republic
which stands one nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Lazikis,
Here.
trustee Rosati,
Present.
trustee Porter,
Here,
trustee Kimmelhart. Here. Trustee Cameron. Here. Deputy Mayor Shear,
Here.
Mayor Mercurio. 6 present, 1 absent.
Okay, may I have an approval of minutes, the village board meeting for February 7th, 2021? It should be 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Marcia,
Second.
second by Steve. All in favor?
There is one other correction that needs to be made under the section for the noise ordinance change. The strike through is missing on the part that we're deleting. I think we probably should get that included in the minutes. The last meeting minutes has the noise ordinance talking about local law number 2, amending the village code for noise. It's missing the strike through, so you don't know what the change is just by reading the minutes. It just needs a strike through. It's just minor change.
Okay. Okay, may I have approval of payment of abstract for Oh, we didn't vote. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. They have an approval of payment of abstracts for 2/22/22 for voucher numbers 61910 to 61975 for a total of $62,864.29.
So moved.
Moved by Kristen,
Second.
second by Tony. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, so we move into our first speakers and communications. If you have something you wish to address the board with, please step up to the microphone and give us your name and address and let us know what you have to say. There will be a second speakers communications at the end of the meeting. Okay, moving on. Okay, public hearings. Number 3. This is a public hearing to consider a law to amend portions of the village code section 249, vehicles and traffic. Kathy, do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to wait until after we?
No, I can explain it before the hearing. There's actually 2 minor changes.
Never really needed a microphone in my life. 2 minor changes to our current vehicle and traffic code. One is to make the school zone times when they are enforced and in effect consistent. 2 out of our 3 school zones have the time from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. But the one on Main Street has it segmented for the morning and then the afternoon. And actually it was a suggestion originally from a resident that we make those consistent. So whenever anyone's in the school zone, they know if it's between 7 and 4, it's in effect. That's the first one. And the second one is actually a request from West Her, one of our great businesses here in the village, that coming out of one of their exits, there is what is a designated allowed parking space right there. But the information that I have is that whenever there is any kind of a vehicle parked there, even if it's a small one, and certainly some larger ones, and SUVs are very common, of course, that is very, very difficult to see coming out of that business. So the proposal is to make that spot in that space to make it more safe and have better visibility, to eliminate parking in that specific space. Those are the 2 changes.
Okay. May I have a motion to open the public hearing at 7:06 p.m.?
so moved.
Moved
Second.
by Paul, second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. Anyone wishes to comment on the proposed change in village code? May approach the microphone.
Hello, I don't necessarily know if I need the microphone, but I'm,
But you do need a name
Yep.
and
My-
address.
my name's Dan Dodge. I'm the general manager of the Western location here in East Aurora at 535 Main Street. I'm here just on behalf of the store and on behalf of our owner, Scott Beeler. So Scott and I got together when this was proposed. It is one single spot as mentioned. It is actually a spot that is located in between two driveways. What we have designated as kind of an incoming drive and an outgoing drive. There's one spot on the street there that every time there's a car parked in it, whether it's traffic that we have coming from the church, our neighbor, or traffic from our business, it's really, really difficult to see the oncoming traffic on that side. So for a while, I tried to specifically put a vehicle in that spot to park a smaller vehicle there to help with the visibility. That's not a good long-term fix. So we're just looking for, from a safety standpoint, maybe that gets designated as a no parking zone. So again, it's one spot in between an outgoing incoming drive that we would like to see corrected for safety purposes. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on the board?
This is maybe a little off the topic, but Mr. Dodge, since you're here, I just want to let you know that I've had numerous complaints over the last year or so about the number of West Her vehicles that are parked on Main Street that are taking up, quote, valuable parking spaces. So if you could just pass that back. Okay, thank you.
One other point that's not directly related to the changes that are proposed, but in that same traffic and vehicle section, I think it might be useful to have a review of the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. That seems to be very low, and I don't think it's something that people would be in favor of having it strictly enforced. So to that extent, it might make sense to raise those numbers to 20 miles an hour or 25 miles an hour. I realize we can't vote on that today, but it's something that I think we should at least consider as a potential additional change to this code.
Just a little background, Ernie, on the 15, Tony, those were side streets. And there's generally traffic parked on the sides of those streets, making them even narrower. So at the time, I think it was the opinion that the slower the speed, the better. Obviously on Main Street, that would cause a lot of congestion. So they felt keeping it 15 on the side streets and 20 on Main Street was the appropriate thing to do at the time. I don't think we have a issue in the 15-mile-per-hour zones. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I think those are pretty short stretches. You know, it's not like there are some school zones where it extends out for, half a mile or something. These are just.
And they're not high traffic roads either, so people
Right.
aren't generally trying to rush down them, at least during the day when the school's in session. So
So,
You're talking Fillmore and
Fillmore and North Grove. Yeah.
Park.
So Gerard also has it. too.
Gerard has
Yeah.
it too, yeah.
so Shane, my question for you, I know this isn't too relatable, but what is the speed zone for the city of Buffalo schools? For any schools more in is there a set speed limit?
No, school zones vary from area to area to municipality to, municipality. Transit Road in front of their high school in Depew is 20 miles an hour.
Okay.
It differs, based on the street size, location and traffic.
Okay. I think then if 20 is good in other places, like Depew, I think.
Well, just so you know, in the
Yeah.
history of that speed zone on North Grove or Gerard, I don't believe, or in my knowledge, know of any vehicle ticketed for not going 15. For the most part, people drive carefully during the day around the schools. They know we're out there. They see us doing radar. If we wrote one ticket in the last several years in any of those locations, it would be a lot. Up on the high school on Center Street, we write considerably more. But that's a 45 mile per hour zone compared to a 35, 40, whatever it is, compared to the 45 and then 55 shortly thereafter. So that's more of an issue than the village school zones.
No, I know the school zone over by Iroquois, because I graduated from Iroquois. It's 30. But yeah, like, so would you be a proponent of 20?
For the site for North Grove and Fillmore in that area,
Yeah.
I don't think either one of them would be a problem. If you guys want to do the work to change them to 20, that's fine. I don't think it's gonna make the area less safe, but
No, the issue that I have, like, say we make it 15. Is it gonna be like everywhere else, like on the 400, when we say the speed limit 65, and obviously we don't, but it says the speed limit 65, so everybody goes 70.
yeah, again, it's those streets in question aren't high trafficked streets. They're neighborhood streets. They're not cut throughs. They're, other than Girard, they're residential areas that generally just people going to the middle school or a house nearby are traveling.
No, let's say, for instance, someone gets hit by a car going 15 miles per hour. Would they be injured more going 20 miles per hour?
I would think so, but I don't know the physics of that. The faster you go, a 3,000 pound vehicle or a 5,000 pound vehicle, the faster they're going, the more it's going to hurt. But at 20, it's going to hurt a lot too. So, or at 15. So,
Right, I think at 15, I would think it's easier to come to a stop.
absolutely.
The slower you're going.
If they're paying attention,
Same
yeah.
principle in reverse.
Right.
So Chief, I'm curious, a couple other things. So Girard, Parkdale is set back quite a ways from the road, which I think is a little different than the middle school.
Absolutely.
So are you a proponent of having uniform speed zones for all the schools, or?
No,
I'm thinking Girard is much more of a.
yeah, no, I
through
definitely
street.
think it should be related to that street in that area and the traffic volume. Now, Girard's a little different because the school is on one side, and I don't think there's anybody crossing the road by the school or should be in the road, school related. So that probably doesn't need to be 15. It could be
Right,
20.
yeah. Okay, and then also Immaculate. What's there? It's 30 over there, right?
Yeah, we don't have any school limit there.
Okay.
Or speed limit there. Park Place is a congested street with minimal traffic. Oakwood's got a stop sign right in front of the school. So, I mean, kind of like North Grove. I mean, I think that was a school's request to put that in. I don't believe we've gotten a request from Parkdale, or at least not in the last several years. I can check with them to see if they would like one. But again, we haven't had an issue there. They're pretty good at keeping the kids on their property and not just running around or what have you.
Or even on Girard, I'm thinking even the split hours, the 7 to 9 and 2 to 4, when most children are present.
Well, I think that was the idea for Main Street, but it
Right.
sounds like we want to change that now. So I don't know.
Do we?
Well,
I think there is
That's
some
what's in front of
reason
you.
for consistency, for people being able to predict,
Now,
what it
Maybe
is.
we should
everywhere.
read signs.
People-
yeah, I mean, that's the
Don't
point of
read
the signs, and there's a ticket specifically for disobeying this traffic
Absolutely.
control device. So, I don't know.
Well, anybody else wish to comment? Steve?
No.
Yeah, Chris?
The speed is not on this that we're voting right now.
It is not.
correct?
Just the hours.
Just to be clear, right?
Just the hours. Well, it's actually still a public hearing. so we're not voting anyway.
Oh, right.
Want clarification on that?
Do you, famous just on my copy, do you have the distances down for the parking under?
I asked Nancy to get this, do you have those distances again? We will put them in, this is the spot right in front of Western. We will make sure they are properly noted in the plan.
But to pass the local law tonight, you need the distances before you pass it.
All right, so let's table it when we get down there. I mean, we don't have that information.
That might be able to pull it up.
Yeah. Google Maps
I
it.
had it at one point, and I thought I put it somewhere, but and then I didn't find it when I was.
Yeah, so should I just close the public hearing? All right, so close it, move on.
If no one has any comment.
Anybody else want to comment, wish to comment on this public hearing? Okay, so may I have a motion to close the public hearing at 7:18 PM?
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second. Second by Tony. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Motion carried. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so now we're going to skip A and skip B. Right? And come back to it when we have the information. Is that correct?
Do we have to
Yes,
officially
okay.
table it?
So we're skipping down to C.
Well, you don't have to table it because you don't have a motion yet.
Gotcha.
We don't have a motion, so we're skipping to C. May I have a motion to approve Chris Trapp of Greco Trap PLLC as village prosecutor for a particular case?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
Steve. So
Second by
moved.
Steve. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving down to D. Was there an opposed?
I couldn't hear it.
I just said, ask if there was anyone opposed. I'm in favor.
Yeah, that was quick.
All in favor? Opposed? I got to change my inflection maybe. I need to,
Lift up a
Pause.
yeah, I've got to speak more clearly. Okay, we're moving down to D. Permission for the mayor to sign the stop DWI resolution as written.
So moved.
Moved by Marcia,
Second.
second by Paul. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. E. Refer to the planning commission on March 1st, an amended special use permit application for 709 to 711 Main Street, The Globe, Kevin McKenna.
So moved.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Paul. And we have the applicants here. You want to discuss this? I mean, you don't need to get up. I don't know how we're going to get the mic to you, but is there any way we can get
Yeah, I
her the
think so. We
mic?
can walk back.
Yeah, but
Thank you.
Okay, basically, all we're looking to do is we're not adding anything on to the restaurant or the patio. There's not going to be any additional space. We are using some of the space that is currently being used as the outdoor seating in the summertime. That will be used, part of it will be used as an outdoor seasonal to-go bar. There will be alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages available. There'll be snacks that people can grab to go, and there will be also, someone will have a handheld unit if people want to order food to take to go.
Okay.
At one point, I think you had a some kind of music outside in that area? Are you
In
still gonna?
2019, we had music outside. It wasn't terribly successful. And with the cost of musicians increasing, there will be no music with this one. We have some speakers outside, but they're not at any kind of volume that's disruptive.
Great, thank you.
So Molly, so this will be also the place where people will come for picking up takeout orders or?
Not
Or is that-
necessarily for takeout orders. We could set up something like that, but it would basically be more for a grab and go kind of beverage setup.
Okay, with some snacks.
Mhm.
Okay. thanks.
Yeah, it's gonna be basic snacks like the chips. You can grab off a little, the chip clip things.
Anyone else have a comment? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, F, may have a motion to schedule a public hearing on March 21st for the amended special use permit for 709, 711 Main Street, The Globe, Kevin McKenna, pending approval from the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kristen, second by Steve. Further discussion.
I have a quick question on that. To do this, because I will be selling alcoholic beverages on the patio, I will need an approval, a special license from the State Liquor Authority, which I am in the process of applying for, but I am unclear on whether I need a special permit from the village to do this, because it's, like I said, I'm not building anything on it. It's just going to be, instead of having 2 tables there, there's going to be a bar there. So I don't know if I need a special permit, and I need the information to continue going forward with the New York State liquor license.
No one has ever asked me for a special permit prior to getting their liquor license. They usually get their liquor license first.
Okay,
So
I
don't
just
know
wasn't
the-
sure because it's going to be outdoor,
But that's
Yeah.
what we're approving
because I do have a
now,
liquor
right?
license, obviously,
you-
for inside.
Well, you're
That's
just
what-
setting it up to
Well,
approve
I know,
that, but she should be able to apply for her
That's what
liquor
this is for,
license
yeah.
without finishing this.
Okay.
So,
that's-
I mean, you would have to talk to a person who specializes in that, but I have never
Well, I
had
spoke to her
anybody.
today and I told her that I was coming tonight, and she said, just double check and make sure that you don't need a special permit from the village to put up the bar. Because I think we were thinking that we were gonna need a permit, and then somebody pointed out to me, but you're not changing the face of the construction or anything. I'm not adding on to anywhere.
Well, you need this special permit to have the bar. So you
Okay.
need this, but I don't think you need that to get your liquor license.
Okay,
Do
that's
you
what I
have
needed.
anything to say on it?
Yes.
So I was
Liz?
just gonna say that the special use permit that they have has to be amended to include this use, because this use is specific for off-site consumption, which is what their liquor license does not allow for today. And because there will be a structure, whether or not it requires a permit, that's not part of this discussion right now. But the special use permit is how they're using their property in their business. And so that's what you're looking at with this request.
Okay, that answers my question.
Okay, any other further discussion on the board? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so I think are we able to go back to A?
Yes, may I, Mr. Deputy
Yes.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Matthew, thank you for providing that, and he provided it before. I did have this information and it was filled in. I just was not able to locate it when I was putting this together for the board, and I don't know why, because I have it. It was on January 21st. We had on record in the office, so in plenty of time in advance of having the local law available for anyone who requests
You
it.
could do it now.
Right,
You just have to fill
yeah,
the blank.
And yeah, and I do have, but I'm saying we even had it well in advance of the meeting. And the information is between a point on Main Street, you are designating no parking on the south side between a point 270 feet west of the west curb line of Payne Street and a point 290 feet west of the west curb line of Payne Street. That's your information.
All right. All set?
So you want to do A and B?
Yes.
And then we-
Okay. May I have a motion to accept the night of declaration under seeker for an unlisted action amending Village Code Section 249, vehicles and traffic.
So moved.
Moved by Paul.
Second.
Second by Tony. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. B, may I have a motion to approve a local law amending the Village Code Section 249, vehicles and traffic.
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
Second.
Second by Paul. Further discussion?
Yeah, I want to know, does that change it to 15 miles per hour or 20?
There's no change whatsoever
speed.
in any of the speed limits. That was not the proposal tonight. That was something that was brought up for discussion. The change for the school zone speed limits is to make it on Main Street consistent from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., the same as the two other school speed zones that are established in the village. That's what it is.
So, 15 miles.
What is it on Main Street? 20 miles per hour on Main Street and 15 miles per hour on the other zones.
So the only speed limit that we're addressing is
Zero.
the hours affecting the speed limit on.
On Main
Yeah.
Street,
Right.
correct.
And this is the same area where we've got the crossing guard, right?
Correct.
So you've got kind of double coverage.
I'm just not a fan of 7 to 4, especially on Main Street. I just feel that that's, it's going to really slow down traffic and possibly impact businesses. The fact that we do have crossing guards, we have signals. I do like the split hours, especially. And I would like to, in the future, talk about the speed limits anyway, as a separate item, but.
Would we be able to make it like 7 to 10 and then like 2 to 4?
That's what it is
That's about
now.
what
It's
it
7
Well,
to
it's
9. I
7 to
think,
9 and 2 to 4.
and 2 to 4, yeah.
One of the things this will do is the schools have a lot of half days. During the fall and spring times, they're walking to the ice rink to go ice skating during the week and coming out of the school. And then half days, if they get done at 11 or whatever time it is, they're coming out of the school. That would cover it all the time. It would be too hard to dictate those hours per day and change them per day. So to do it across the board, again, we don't get any complaints. The traffic generally is heavy enough there during the day that it's not going fast, especially with the traffic signal right at that intersection. So people do have to slow down for that. I don't think it's going to affect traffic, Marcia, in any noticeable fashion,
No.
changing it all day. Or all school day, rather.
Anyone else? Tony?
No, I guess I'm okay.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion, 1, okay. Against, 1 against. Motion carried. Okay, moving down to number 5, new business, code red. Kathy, do you want to explain what that is?
I will start out
Please.
quickly and then I'm gonna shuffle it over to Maureen. She's been working on a little bit more than I have. I was not available for one follow-up meeting. This started with actually, you all have a lot of information that was provided to you in writing, so we probably don't need to go over it a lot tonight. Where we are right now with the juncture is the town is probably going to proceed with it in any event, although they were looking to partner with us to help share the cost. And I did let Luke at the councilperson Luke at the town, Wojcinski, I should say, is leading that effort effectively. And I had let him know that if we are going to do it as a joint venture, and if the town town is going to enter the contract with the vendor, and then the village is gonna be, just get on it, share the cost with the village is gonna share the cost with the town, but the town will have the contract with the vendor. Then we will need an intermunicipal agreement to say exactly how that's going to work, all of the details of it and the cost. So we probably want to get a sense from you, and again, from a lot of what you've got from writing and from Maureen, to see if we get kind of just a nod from you tonight that this is something you would like us to pursue on behalf of the village. And then actually that the mayor was going to meet with a couple of the town representatives to talk about the intermunicipal agreement. Did you want to add whatever else more?
Well, you want to explain a little bit for the audience exactly what this code red is for people who might not know what we're talking about
Okay.
in the audience?
So Code Red is a app kind of thing that you can sign up for, or you can get it as an email. You can also get it to your home phone, and the village can put out different kinds of notices. We can do push notices from our emergency services, so the police station can do that. The fire department could do that, but that would really run through our police station. The administrator could put out events like a parade, or if we were giving away something. My office could put out notices for like water bills, or if the taxes are due. One of the big things is we could put out zoning and planning notices, public hearing notices, so that some people who say that they don't hear about the public hearings because they don't necessarily read the paper, they would be able to get those notices. So there's a lot of different things that we could send out so that our residents in the village would know. Each resident can decide what kind of notices they get. So if somebody like me who does not want 100 notices, I could turn off maybe like recreation and just care about the things that I really want to know about, which might be like planning and zoning. Or you could sign up for every single one, and you'd get the notice however you signed up for it, whether it is your cell phone, to get it via email, or to get it sent to your home via a voice message. I pretty much made an outline of the different departments, how we would use it, what we felt the pros and cons were, and things we wanted to look into. I am going to reiterate to the board that because I care about money the most, we all know that my department sends out the planning and zoning and public hearing notices that have to go out by mailers. And if we did not have to send those mailers out, and you made a local law to change that, so we don't send out the mailers anymore, and that we send the notices out via this method, we could probably pay at least half of our portion by not sending out those mailers and doing that. And then that person's time who's doing the mailers could be spent doing the software, because running the software is going to be a time-consuming thing as well. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there. The other departments don't really have a cost savings with it. They just have a value to that information. But I wanted to point that out, because if you were going to do that, that would need public hearings and all kinds of fun stuff to make that change, but would help us with the cost. And I think would be something you'd want to consider when a proposal is in front of you to make the decision.
I would think the DPW would be a key one, especially if there's construction going on or any kind of road closures and
Garbage,
yeah, that sort of thing.
general construction, water
Manhole,
notices,
pothole, those
parking.
sorts of things, yeah. Okay.
Similarly, the manhole cover changes that have been done by the county, we could send out notices on that saying, hey, they're going to be working on a particular block or neighborhood or something. So I'm assuming that this allows granularity on a street level basis. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we can pick an area. So for example, I just know my area the best. So for planning or zoning, if we were talking about a certain residence and we have to send it for 500 feet, we'd be able to pick that point, pick 500 feet and send it there. If we were doing a street, we'd be able to pick a street and just say this street. A lot of times when we will send out notices, we will send out notices to a particular location, because if there is an emergency, we might not want the entire village knowing, because we might not want the entire village coming. We might just want to let the 10 houses affected know that there is an emergency and get them the notice. It's very important.
Come in handy any future major road construction projects. It'd be a wonderful thing to have had with Oakwood. It's just an easy way to communicate.
Yeah, and we really would have to push getting people to sign up for it. and try to be creative. I'm told we can get QR codes so that if somebody comes to a board meeting and doesn't get the notices, have them come, scan a QR code that we have on the counter, and we can have one down at our office. We could probably attach them to our water bills and mail it out like that. Maybe work with the school and see if there's kids who could help people who are not technologically inclined, add it to their phone, things like that.
That's what I was wondering about. I mean, I think we'd have to have like full coverage with this before we could stop sending out mailers, I would assume.
Well, technically, we don't have to send out mailers. It's just what was in our law. The only thing we have to do is put a notice in the newspaper. The village has decided to do the extra layer of doing it to the houses by sending mailers. If that was, we could say we're going to send out mailers for, 6 more months. Whatever you guys felt was the best. We could say we're going to send out mailers for 6 more months, but then we're going to stop sending out mailers. This will give the residents enough time to do that. And those are all, I laid a lot of that out in here. So there's a lot of things that have to be thought of when we do this. We're going to have a policy and a procedure with all of it for every department. And also like who can send out the message. I'll be honest, I'm not sending out messages from my office. It would be my clerk who sends out the mailers, who'd be sending out that message. I'm assuming that Shane's going to want to have his lieutenant send out the messages. Nobody really wants to get woken up at 3 a.m. to send out a message. I'm just saying.
Well, I think a lot of the residents are already used to it because of, they're doing that in school. And I think if there's options for those who still have landlines and email and text, at least those, and also as long, or if we can go all in and then opt out. To me, if there's a legal way, I don't know, if we can sort of push it on all residents and then they have to say no, as compared to trying to recruit people to come on board.
So you can, when you get the software, you can get data, and it will be data. And when we ask the company what the data would be made up of, they can't tell me specifically. They're just like, you'll get 6,000 pieces of data. Well, 6,000 pieces of data could be 10 pieces of data from one house and none from thousands of houses. So they can't tell us what it is. The other part of it is in that data, there could be cell phone numbers. If somebody doesn't sign up to get these notices via cell phone, to send it to them is not legal to send it to them without them signing up for it. So we would know that in that group of data, there would be cell phone numbers. So it's kind of hard to send to that group knowing that when they can't tell me the date, they can't tell me how it's broken out. So we could try to send an emergency notice one time and saying, if you want this data, you can sign up for it and then turn that off. But keeping it on for a long time, a bunch of people who don't live here anymore could get the message. Somebody could be getting 10 messages in 10 different methods, and they get that data from credit card companies. So if a credit card company has your data, that's how they're getting it.
But to the extent that you've got portability with the numbers, something could be a cell phone number one week and a landline number the next week. It bounces back and forth. I don't think you can do too much to say we have to block everybody right away in the face of trying to be cautious. I think we want to kind of invite people. The other part of it is, again, you probably want to look at how do we address businesses. So you probably want to invite the business owner or the building owner as well as the business owner, so that you've got the possibility for people opting in who, for instance, may be running a restaurant on Main Street or something like that and don't own the building.
Yes, our goal would be to send it to everybody, to try to get the notice out any way we can. Hopefully the paper would put something in the paper, maybe even our QR code, I don't know. But just get the information out there so that people could sign up in any way, shape, or form. And I think we would send a mailer probably to the property owners as well as the tenants. And then also on the water bills, I think is just a big thing because that does reach everybody. So,
And you mentioned the businesses, Tony, I think that those could, not all business owners or businesses in East Aurora are members of the chamber, but many are. And then the chamber has many members that are outside the village, but it wouldn't hurt anything. Good. I would think that we are a chamber member, so we could put this information
Sure.
out as our own membership that anyone, and of course, even if people outside of the area sign up for it and get a message, that's a general message that does not impact anything. So we could certainly enlist the chamber's help, and I would expect to get it. With Gary's very cooperative. We have a very good relationship. So we could do that with the businesses that way. So I'm sure we'll come up with a lot of different strategies of things that we want to do and how we want to manage it. I am concerned about putting out non-emergency notices when we know that the basic data that we originally get in the data set, like Maureen said, the 6,000 has cell phones, and it's inappropriate and I believe illegal for us to send out non-emergency notices to those cell phones. So I think we're just going to want to make a great big push initially and continuously in good using good methodology to have people continuously sign up for this. And then the other caution that you have is if you end up sending out a lot of different things, people who have already signed up, who are maybe even more enthusiastic to begin with, if they get a lot of things at some point, they're gonna say, I'm just gonna turn this off because it's annoying. So you kind of have to strike a balance of the information you are sending out. Now, in addition to what we're gonna be sending out, the town, on the other hand, is gonna do whatever they're going to do with it that suits their purposes. So that's something else. And they're going to be sending to town and village residents, because of course, village residents are town residents as well. So those are all the things that you will be thinking about. And ultimately, you see how if we end up going forward and getting into an agreement with the town to go with this notification system.
So if we do end up going with the town on this, do the village residents have to sign up for village and town separately, or can they get on both lists if they get on the village list?
They can choose. So they can choose to just be on the village stuff, and they can choose to be on the town stuff as well. So there'll be a website where you go on and you're going to click the things that you want when you sign up. So a village resident who wants to get the town notifications can get all the town notifications. Or if a town resident wants to get the village notifications because they think it's important to them, they can do that as well.
Okay, that's great. I just want to make sure they only had to go to one place as opposed to
Yep, it's one place, and you can really be particular on what kind of notices you want. So if you don't want all the notices, you can turn off the notices that you don't want.
And in the future, at any point, my understanding is you could, any user may edit their preferences. So if you're like, I don't want to see any more of that. I signed up originally for I don't want to pick on town recreation, but I will because it's easy. I signed up for all the town recreation stuff, but it turns out I get all that stuff and it's really not of any interest to me. So I'm going to go into the system again. I'm going to change my preferences. I'm going to uncheck that box.
Great.
Okay, anybody else?
Do you have a rough time frame? Is the town looking to do this fairly quickly, so we have to make a decision in the next month, or is it something that we can?
They would
about.
need to send us this agreement first. I mean, I think we've been waiting for that for a while to even see what they're looking to have us agree to. So I think once we get that, we'll look through that and then it'll go in front of you. We have a quote already from Onsolve. And so once we get the agreement with the town, I guess you'll have to decide how you guys want to do it, and if you want to do it, and look at all of that information to see how you'd want to share it. But I think this is do you like the idea, and do you want us to pursue making that agreement with the town? Or, in case you didn't like the idea at all, we would not proceed with that.
What was the annual cost again?
Oh, I don't have it with me, but I believe it was in the
It was less than
7,000
right, yeah.
Yeah,
total.
we
And it
spent
would
a
be
lot more
split.
than that on postage.
Oh, for sure.
Mailers.
And time.
Well, that's the
Right.
thing. We spend a lot, if we change that, it would really be a cost benefit. And then we get all those other benefits without really paying much at all. So that's kind of why I threw that in there, because I'm like, this is how we can pay for it and justify the extra expense. Unless you find both valuable, that's really your decision. Just kind of an idea I threw out there.
I think too, for the number of people who say they don't know what's going
Right.
on,
Yep.
and not
Absolutely.
everybody's on Facebook and not everybody subscribes to the advertiser. This way it's it doesn't mean it's gonna people are going to pay attention, but at least I think we've made a good faith effort to.
There's
try to
those same
push
people's
communication.
phone will be off the day that we give the notice.
On
Well, I think
silent
that,
mode.
that especially that you can sign up with different methods, that, you know, you don't have to have a cell phone for this to work.
Yeah, get an
I
email.
think
Yeah.
that's gonna be really valuable to people who don't have cell phones.
Yeah.
Can never have too much communication. The better we communicate, the better we serve the people. So I think this is, it's a good thing. Anybody have any other comments?
I do have one other thing that you'll want to consider. If you have a big hearing, let's take Canvas for an example. And we certainly had a lot of people here in any event. And we even had an extra room and we knew we were going to have a lot of people who were interested in that, certainly on both sides of that issue. But if you send out, if you think you have an issue that is village-wide of interest, and you send out a notice on code red, you would need to be prepared. What would you do literally if all of a sudden, instead of, because people knew about it or didn't know about it, you had 400 people come to a meeting rather than 40, you would need to, we literally don't have a place almost anywhere in the village where we could accommodate a great big group like that. So that is somewhat of another consideration.
I do sincerely hope we have that problem.
Right?
And it would be a good problem to have that would be problematic to solve.
You want to have it?
Anybody else? Okay, moving on to
So
our,
did what?
So
does that-
would you like us to proceed trying to get that contract with the town? I mean, you don't have to vote on it. It's not a vote. It's just, are we wasting our time or is
No.
it something you'd like to see?
You're not wasting your time.
No, do
Yes.
it.
Do it.
All right.
I think,
we have,
So,
sir,
Rod Simeon, 85 Byberry Court. Question, I was trying to follow this. You're saying this is voluntary for residents, is that correct?
Yes.
As opposed to everybody's in and you have to opt out?
Well,
We don't-
the proposal at this moment is that everybody would have to opt in, but there is a version where they give us data. And anybody who's in that data, we can message. The board could decide to use that data and message everybody who's in there. And then those people would have to turn it off if they didn't want it.
But to sign up for that, you have to take affirmative action to sign up for this, is that correct? With
If you're
either-
not in that data, yes.
With either an email or a phone number or a text. Is that
Email,
correct?
phone number, or cell phone, yep.
Okay, first question is confidentiality. Does that information go to the village and town, or does it go to the administrator of the?
I don't get any of it. And that was part of the deal with the Onsolve. They couldn't, like the data they have to throw in, they can't tell us any of it. So we don't have any of that data. So I wouldn't have your cell phone number if
Okay,
you signed up
so that confidentiality is with the administrator.
with the company.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
good. Second, you're talking about mailers for zoning, et cetera, for the 500
Mhm.
feet area. I mean, that's only 7 or 8 houses and it's,
No, sometimes it's much more.
okay,
We sent out 90 last week.
okay, so as mentioned, many people don't get the advertiser,
Hmm.
don't have email or internet, so I don't know that you'd want to cut that off.
It could go to their house phone too, is another option.
If they sign up for it.
Or it would be it would be in the newspaper. It's hung in Village Hall on the board. I mean, there's multiple ways.
So someone who doesn't have internet, doesn't get the advertiser, their only knowledge of something happening to their neighbor would be to receive a letter as it is now.
Right now, we do send those mailers. Yep.
May I just interject to further answer your question? We do have a method where we post signs on property that says this property is subject to something. It doesn't necessarily say what it is specifically, but it alerts people. And that is to my way of thinking, is a very good method that if it's in your neighborhood and all of a sudden there's a yellow sign, I think they're yellow, right? That's what we use on a property anywhere in your neighborhood. And you can call a village office, it's just a phone call and we will give you that information. So coupled with that, and I would also say that I believe that a number of people will sign up for this and will get these notifications either on their landline phones, which is probably I call the most old fashioned method, or email, which I still use a lot, and is still old fashioned. And then of course, text and cell phone messaging. I believe many people will get that and they will talk to their neighbors and network. So even people who are not signed up for it would have a good opportunity to hear about it from their neighbors because they got the notification. I believe that would occur.
I wonder if there's a way, this is just off the cuff, but I know when I get my tax bill for property owned elsewhere, that there's a box you can check to have a second party also receive the information in case you are, you're elderly or you need somebody to, double check that.
You could have
making a payment.
anybody sign up. I mean, I could, if I wanted to, I could have my
somebody
mom
like,
sign up.
For example, if I had an elderly parent and I know that they're not hooked up to the internet and they don't read anymore or whatever,
Anybody could do that. Yep.
and then that person then could inform that person, let them know what's going on if there's information they needed to know. Just like on a tax bill where you have that little box that you can
Yes.
let them know. That would solve that problem.
Is there a limit to the number of recipients that you got on the quote? Do they say maxed out at 10,000 or maxed out at 5 or?
Our
Messages
quote was for the number of residents in the village and town combined for the whole program, because it's a
Like about
shared one. So
13,000.
it's done by the number of residents. I mean, again, you could sign up if you're not a resident, but you're not likely going to get a notice. So that person would have to sign up like they're from that house. So if I was
Right.
going to sign up for like, if I was going to sign up for somebody in the village, I'd need to use their address. Yes, for their business.
I think it's a noble idea if handled properly, and I think there's a lot of discussion. The last thing I'll say is I trust there will be no advertisements going on through this. Use an example. Someone in a town or village is a member of Baker Memorial, and you get a thing that says the Strawberry Festival is, June 8th, there might be a lot of traffic. That type of.
That would be a
thing should avoid.
misappropriation of village funds, right?
It would have to be a village event. So like if we could put something out that says, be careful of traffic for Music Fest.
I was gonna say, Music Fest is probably a good example.
But
to-
that's more
we
for
should
a
warn people about.
safety purpose. And we do send out notices right now when there are street closed. So we would say the streets are going to be closed.
I think Chief and.
And if it was important to notify about traffic in the example that you gave, I don't know that we would necessarily even have to say specifically what the organization is or the event per se, but say an event in the vicinity, in this vicinity or whatever is going to congest traffic on these streets. So it could even be done in that way. So as Maureen mentioned earlier, certainly we will need to, if we do ultimately go forward, we'll have to write our own internal policy as to what goes out on this and how it goes out. And I expect we would be very judicious with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rod, we'll let you know about your car warranty.
Okay, anyone else?
So would this end up at some point, we would need a public hearing, or is this just something that we're going to just?
We would need a
if we
public
decide we
hearing
want to go
to
forward?
change if we change the local law to say that we don't
About
have to send
notices.
out the notices, then we would need a public hearing for that. To sign up with Code Red, we do not need a public hearing. You would just pass it the way you would normally pass it. Once we have an agreement with the town, we would put that on the agenda and go from there. Policies would be written internally, and then you guys would receive them to review, and you could approve the policy for that to make sure that we're going to handle it the way you wish.
So I would think the one urgency would be if we could have a decision and understand the money as we're building the budget. So, it's timely, but we probably need to
That's what
have the
we're,
information so we can.
yeah,
nail
I
it
mean,
down.
I'm expecting half is what they're going to ask us for. I don't have it in front of us, but I'm expecting half, so about 35.
So that was a question too, was that estimate specific to the town, or that would be for both
Both the town
municipalities?
and the village,
Okay,
yes.
so it would be half, okay. Thanks.
Hi, Tim.
Good evening, Tim Stroth, 360 Center Street.
Yeah.
I just feel like I should put in a couple cents here. This is a great idea. We have a little samples, much smaller sample size. We went through this 2 years ago. You need to understand depending on who, you said that the company manages the data for confidentiality. It's a very labor intensive requirement to keep it keep it accurate. People moving in, people moving out, rental of properties, everything else. It was an ongoing effort along Oakwood Avenue to try and keep the data up to date, to make sure that we weren't sending erroneous messages to people. So you just need to understand that if you're just gonna put that on somebody else to do, the probability of success will be lessened. As I say, we all worked, all of us worked very hard, and we achieved a lot of success in year 2 that we didn't achieve in year 1, and it had to do with the effort. So just, you want to be cognizant of the fact that you can't just worry about checking a box. If you're serious about this, then you have to put in the effort somehow, somewhere along the line, to make sure the data is up to date, accurate, and 6,000 points of data. Who knows how good that's going to be? So garbage in, garbage out. So just to be aware of that, and good luck. Thank you.
And just to answer that real quick, Tim, Code Red's been around forever. It's across the country. It's an enormous company that's used by police services, emergency management, all over the place. I do believe it's very easy. If you change your phone number and all of a sudden you start getting messages from Code Red that you don't want, you can just type stop or something back and you'll be removed from it. So it's pretty simple, I believe.
Thank you, and I agree. In a past life, I was involved in a lot of E911 programming, and you're right, but it's not fail-safe.
No,
So,
absolutely not, but it's better than nothing.
I
I mean,
totally,
especially, and I don't know if this was brought up. One of the biggest parts of it that I'm interested in is the reverse 911. We have the capability of doing that now, but if it's at 2 o'clock in the morning, we have to call somebody with the county who has to call somebody to get permission, and then hopefully they take the information we gave them and put it in properly to the right area, to the right people. This way, we'll be able to actually do it ourselves. If, for say, we have a train derailment at midnight one night, we can notify a certain perimeter around that train derailment to please leave the area and don't go near the train, and so, you know, quicker than Facebook or anything like that.
understood 100% with you. Just, it's just not a be all end all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, moving on to our second speakers and communications. Does anyone wish to address the board at this time? Okay. All right, moving on, department head reports, number 7. Maureen, we'll start with you.
In April, I'll be going to the GFOA conference, and this year, Mary Ann's going to come to the GFOA conference with me, and Mary Ann got a scholarship to go to the conference. So she'll be going to the conference for free, hotel and everything. And I'm very happy that she'll be coming. And I heard a rumor that she might be finishing her foundation's GFI degree while she's there, which I'm very proud of, because that's a lot of work. The GFI program is very hard, and it's a lot of in detailed classes. You do get tests and homework. It's not like a lot of other classes where you sit there and if you turned it on mute, you could keep going. You really got to do the work, and it's a big deal. Also, I did get to speak with the mayor today, and he just wanted to let you know that he is having a meeting with Councilman Wojcinski and Councilman McCann, I'm sorry, to discuss Code Red and anything else that might need to be discussed. I was in the last meeting that he had, kind of discussing town village harmony. And I thought it was very good. So if you have anything, you might want to talk to the mayor about that. If you feel anything needs to be discussed.
When is that? Do you know?
I don't know what date it is. I'm sorry.
Is that it, Maria?
That's all.
Okay, chief?
Yeah, a couple things. Officer Corey Specht was chosen after some interviews within the department to apply to drug recognition expert school. It's actually a process of a interview with the organizers of the training to see if you will even be accepted into the training. We just found out the other day, he was accepted into the training. So he'll be doing 2 weeks of training in Niagara County in April, I believe, and then shortly thereafter, we'll be doing the final 2 weeks of training in Philadelphia. So he's excited to start that process. Another topic that we've been working on for quite a while is getting back to the school resource officer position. Again, we did some interviews within the department and took 2 candidates to the school administration for interviews. And Officer Stephen Cartwright was selected to be our next school resource officer. So we're working with the school right now to get that up and running, hopefully sometime in March. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
Last week, the DPW put Christmas decorations back up on Main Street for the Saturday filming of another movie. We started taking them down today, and we are awaiting the next storm this weekend.
How are we compensated for that? Do they, I can't remember if they compensate, how do they?
We do
make the
not.
sale? I can't remember.
We do not currently have a policy to be compensated. My understanding of our longstanding informal way to handle this often ends up being a request from the chamber, who is usually works with the film office, the Buffalo Film Office. And usually if whatever is being requested can be handled during the regular workday of our employees, then it isn't something we would necessarily go ahead and bill them for. I have worked in communities in the past where they actually have a part of their village code or municipal code has a movie permit. You have to get a permit in order to film a movie. And there are fees that are listed in that code and associated with it. We don't have anything like that currently in the village. There was a request. Did you know, Chief, if they had any use of your services for the movie this last weekend?
Yeah, after quite a bit of, bless you, a lot of back and forth. I was concerned because of our lack of manning for the beginning of this year, our overtime budget's getting very lean. And the movie requested that we have officers available to stop traffic for seconds at a time for photo or for taking their shots. I explained to Gary Grote and had him pass on that it would probably have to be some restitution for the overtime for the police officers. They ended up not wanting as much services as they first requested. So our officers working, the lieutenant, I think in particular, was able to assist them with some traffic direction. And so there was no extra cost at this time. But that's definitely something to look forward to. Little ones like this for a day or a couple hours aren't that big a deal. But when was it Coldbrook was filmed, I mean, there was a lot of traffic direction and a lot of, and there was overtime for that because it was such a big deal on Main Street with Main Street shut down. That might be something to look forward at in the future, some restitution for the overtime, whether it's a DPW or my department.
So you're saying even for Coldbrook, there was no reimbursement?
No.
On the
There,
police?
I should also jump, there are different, I'll have to look back. I know I've looked into it before since I've been here. And as far as fashioning something that is proper, I did check in with NICOM, and I believe I have that information that I can pass on to you from maybe a couple of years ago. So there are some limitations also potentially as to what you can do. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we've gotten school crossing guards who have helped with some, well, maybe that might be for special events.
Yeah.
That we
that's-
get reimbursed for that. But for movies, we don't really have anything that we have done. It was clear to the chamber that we did expect to be compensated for police overtime if it was incurred, and it was not. But we really, our policy is very informal and certainly not in writing and terribly enforceable.
I think it's something we really should consider. If you saw the article in the paper recently in the Buffalo News about the charm of East Aurora and that there will be other films, they anticipate other films coming in the future. I think we really ought to be looking at least a permit process.
Yeah, we're too little too easy, I
Yeah.
think. about-
But I would be very happy to continue to work on that on your behalf if you would like me to.
I mean, it's flattering they want to come here, but I don't want to have to pay for their dinner too, just.
Well, what the chamber likes to emphasize, and I'm not making their case, but what I do here, I should say, I did all get a very nice little email this morning from Gary Grote thanking us all for all of our efforts. So they are appreciative. I believe sometimes the reason some things go on here is because it's not a very large cost or any cost for that matter for the filmmakers to come here. But I know that the chamber director, Gary, he always liked to say how great it is that the movies do come here, because while we might incur whatever cost we would have, there are certainly a lot of benefits to the community because all of the crew members and the cast come in and they do potentially stay overnight locally or go to patronize the local restaurants and businesses. So there is that ancillary economic boost to the community that I wouldn't dispute does occur, but that certainly doesn't help us with any direct village costs that we incur in assisting in these efforts.
Well, I have met people who from like other states who come here, and one couple came here because she saw the Prince movie, whatever, the Prince Christmas Prince, no, Prince for Christmas. And she wanted to see the town. She wanted to see it. They actually came they stayed at the Roycroft, and they were in the Barville getting wings, and then they went to all these places, and that was kind of cool.
So that was a direct economic
So there
benefit
you
to
go.
the
And they
community
stayed-
as a
they
whole
stayed
as a
for a few
result of the
days.
movie.
So, okay, interesting. All right, Matt, anything else?
Hey, Matt,
Okay.
I have a question.
All right. Oh,
Potholes, how's it going?
Great.
I mean, I don't know if you've addressed the one by Fisher Price and Gerard.
Yep, we're.
That one
constantly-
almost swallowed a car.
We're constantly working on them.
Yeah.
okay, Kathy?
So last week, our workers' comp, it's not really, it's actually our company. It's a conglomerate of municipalities throughout New York State that provides us with our workers' comp coverage. They came out and did a courtesy review of all of our facilities and did interviews and just looked at everything that we have in our facilities. They did not do the fire hall, but we may have them back to do that. And also advise us on if we are lacking any, reports that you're supposed to have, safety notices you're supposed to have posted on the wall, or if there's exit signs or all of that. I mean, anything and everything. The gentleman who came out, Patrick Clare, was super knowledgeable. And I want to thank all the department heads for participating in that. It's a little bit different in this building because we do occupy part of it, but it's not our building. But then as far as that goes, and then I did receive a very extensive report from Patrick about everything that we can do. So I'm going to try to be doing a little bit more with some of the safety measures and formalizing things. It's something else that I think we do well, but I think we could do it better and formalize some things a little bit more. We have the safety committee that we have, that when a resident brings something like this, says there's ought to be a stop sign or something somewhere. And that's the police chief and the DPW superintendent, the fire chief. But another thing that we should probably commence in the near future and having to do with this report is do an internal safety committee and just meet on a regular basis as far as just continuously making sure we have, I need to knock on some wood here. We have a really, really great record. We don't have a lot of injuries that occur, very concerning. We had, if you have an accident with a car or something, that happens occasionally. But we always want our workers to be safe all of the time. So that's obviously the underlying goal. So I'm going to continue to work on some efforts towards that and have my team of department heads assist me in all of that. So that's just going to be an ongoing item. Thank you.
Close. Okay, Steve?
Nothing tonight. Well, actually, regarding that last meeting we had, some of the residents on Center Street regarding the Walnut project got a hold of me during the warm up, and I went out and took pictures. And Ernie, as you said, it was a lake. I mean, there was a couple pondings, and we may need to, after the public hearing, we can determine, but push back that until the spring to see what the impact is on the water on that area. So I'll email the board some pictures.
Can I do a quick follow-up on that also? So we did say that the secret committee was going to meet, and we did. That's actually Chris and Liz and myself. We did the most intense secret committee meeting we've had since I've been here anyway, and went over in great detail with everything. I did do a 2-page report that I can get to everyone. I have some attachments that are going with that. We did go over in detail the full environmental impacts statement. Full environmental assessment form. Getting my acronyms and my terminology correct, it's important. And we do have a recommendation for the board, but you'll want to read through everything and look at everything that is sent to you from our committee. And I did actually just receive yesterday a report from the engineer of a number of items that they were recommending as a result of having reviewed everything that's been put in by the applicant. I shared that with Chris and Liz today. And I did also forward it on to Peter Sorgi, who's the attorney for the applicant, letting him know that until all of the items that the engineer has raised are addressed, that it wouldn't be anything, no action would be able to, we wouldn't recommend that any action be taken on the actual application. So Peter Sorgi is aware of that. I'm assuming we'll share that with his applicant, and that they'll have their engineers working on providing some supplemental information. So it's been we have been putting a lot of time and effort into it. We know how important it is for the board and for the residents in the area. We know that the drainage and the water is certainly the primary issue, and that's a lot of what the focus is and what you'll see and what's being provided to you. So we should be able to get that to you. That hearing is 2 weeks from yesterday is your hearing, but you also had said, and this is certainly proper, that while you would hold your hearing that night, you could hold the hearing and even not adjourn the hearing and keep the hearing open, or you could adjourn the hearing, but certainly not make your decision that same evening. And I wouldn't think in any event, if you don't have all of the conditions and requirements satisfied that the village is asking for, including items that the engineer is saying that we are lacking or need more addressing at this time. So that's the update on that. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Tony?
The only concern I had this week is that the pedestrian traffic going back and forth between Rite Aid and the Barbell continues to be very high. And I'm wondering if we can't do something in terms of either encouraging the businesses to put up signs, reminding people that there's the parking lot behind that we just got repaired with the Tannery Brook culvert. It just strikes me that we had to deal with the fact that we were short on parking before, but it's not the case anymore. And having these people kind of constantly going back and forth across Main Street seems to be a problem. We looked at the crosswalk situation, that doesn't seem to have a good solution. So I'm kind of grasping at straws, but I'm thinking, either signs in the business or signs on Main Street. I don't think you can put signs in the parking lot by Rite Aid, right? That's owned by the other guys, the Benderson. So it just
The back
not
parking
good.
lot's full too on those nights.
Is it?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on that, and it's just
We just,
filling up.
Some parties on.
didn't we discuss that, was it last meeting or 2 meetings ago, where crosswalk further down towards Misters and but there's one right at Pasquale's, but nobody's gonna be walking, nobody's gonna walk that far down to go across. The circle ones,
That's,
that's a tough one.
yeah.
It's people pollinating between the different bars inside their
Right.
house, and Misters, they go to Irishman, then they want to go to Barville, it's this constant.
Right.
And it's an accident waiting to happen because, they're
Well,
not paying
it's
attention.
happened, but we had a gentleman struck by a car in front of
Yeah,
Pasquale's
yeah.
because he parked on the south side of Main Street, was going to Pasquale's, and the intersect or the crosswalk was 50 feet away from him.
I think, yeah. Do people even use them?
They
Pay
do.
attention?
They
They
want to
do
cross
more during
where
the
they
day.
want.
More during the day, I think they see people using the crosswalk than at night, but.
They want the,
Well, at night, at
Sure.
11
Yeah.
o'clock, they're running across the street from 189 Barville cider, that they don't care.
For
In
you
the-
to
in
try.
the Nice weather, they might have a more of a tendency to go and walk on the sidewalk and use it, but if it's raining or cold outside, they just want to get across the street.
okay, anything else, Tony?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Kristen?
Tree board had a nice meeting last week. I've been working on a number of documents in the 10,000 trees project. Everything's going well, everything's coming along. A lot of good stuff going on with them. Oh, that's the tree board also has a Facebook page. So if people want to join that, share it, they would be very appreciative.
Marcia?
Nothing this time.
Paul?
I'm all set.
Okay, yeah, Chief and I were out on a couple Saturdays ago handing out COVID test kits and masks, and it was very cold. And we didn't get the numbers we thought we would get. It was very slow.
We still have a lot of.
Yeah, and I was out there, standing out there, I was asking people walking by on the sidewalk, a lot, no, I don't want it. So I don't know if people are, they have an overabundance of these kits now or what the situation, but the people came through are very happy to get them, but it was not the lineup of cars I had expected. I thought it would be just nonstop,
We were kind of forcing people to take them as they walk by.
Well, strong arm. So, yeah, I don't know if they thought, I got a guy with a cardboard, a Bill's hat and a cardboard box said test kits or COVID kits, et cetera, something.
We trust that guy.
Yeah, the sketchy looking out of plastic chair. I don't know. Maybe they thought I was trying to sell something, but that was it. Nothing else really. All right. So anybody have anything else they want to add before we adjourn? Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:18 PM?
So move.
Moved by Steve,
Second.
second by Tony. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Have a great night. Take care, folks. Thank you for coming.